Hello everyone. My name is Gülnihal, and today with my friend Esma Masca, we'll be presenting our research study. So during the presentation, I will be sharing the screen, and Esma and I are undergraduate student at the Middle East Technical University at the Department of Foreign Language Education. So the name of our research is the effect of phonological awareness on written production of L1 Arabic speakers learning Turkish as a foreign language. So I will be presenting the theoretical base of our research. So let's look at the terms. What do we mean by phonological awareness? So according to Debska, it means the ability to represent the sound structure of words and to identify and manipulate syllabuses, onsets, rhymes, and phonemes. And so what do we mean by the written production? So we actually refer to orthography here. And orthography comes from the Greek language, and it means proper writing style. So we can say orthography means the proper way of writing in a way. So when we compare phonology and orthography, we see that while phonology refers to the ability of hearing and listening, orthography refers to writing. And if you are to compare the Turkish orthography and Arabic orthography, we see that in the Turkish orthography, there are 29 letters, and it is read from top to bottom and left to right, while in Arabic orthography, there are 28 graphs, and they are read from top to bottom and right to left. So in orthography, actually, there are many more subcategories, such as graph choices and transposition. But in our research, we've mainly focused on substitution, omission, and insertion, these three subcategories. And substitution basically means replacing a letter, a sound, with another sound or letter. So for example, sarnıç is written as sarnıç, or beşgen as beşken, dolap as dolap, jant as jant, ova as ova with W. And omission means omitting one letter from a word, basically, and it happens as çı as çı, söylev as söyle, bağdaş as bağdaş, bu as bu, dövme as döme. And insertion means adding an extra letter or sound in a word. So, and it is happening as üçüz as üçüz, felç as felç, küvet as küvet, baraj as baraj, karga as karga. So as we said in our research, we only focused on these three subcategories. And while talking about the orthography, we also have to talk about the phonology and compare them. So in Turkish phonology, we have 8 vowels and 11 consonants. And these vowels are categorized as front, back, low, high, and rounded and unrounded. And the articulation of the consonant depends on voicing, place of articulation, and manner of articulation. In Arabic phonology, as we said, Arabic, of course, we mean modern standard Arabic, but however, there are many more dialects in Arabic, but we choose modern standard Arabic to study in our research. And in modern standard Arabic, there are 28 consonants, phonemes, and 6 vowels. And vowels form 3 distinct pairs of short vowels and long vowels, namely e, i, u. And some other Arabic dialects also have o and e, so long o and long e, let's say. And consonants are articulated in labial, dental, alveolar, palatal, velar, uvular, pharyngeal, and glottal amount. So to continue with the comparison, in Turkish phonology, phonemes that are not found in Turkish but exist in Arabic, these are the phonemes. And as you can see in the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, you see that phonemes that are not found in Arabic, but they exist in Turkish phonology actually. And these are namely ç, g, yumuşak g, j, p, v, I, o, ö, and ü. But in our research, we didn't included the vowels. We only worked with these 6 consonants. So basically, these are the differences between the Turkish and Arabic phonology. So when we look at the literature, we see some similar studies, But our study differs in a sense that in the previous studies, they did not actually present a relation between the phonological awareness and orthographic errors and on the written productions, but they only made some basic error analysis. And they tried to actually categorize them in a way, but not in the orthographic ways. That's why we tried to focus on these issues. So when we look at closely, so we see that Subaşı made a study named Error Analysis on Composition of Arabian Learners of Turkish at Tömer. Bölükbaş study is an evaluation of Arab students' Turkish writing skills. Dalak and Mercan study is error analysis of pronunciation in Turkish consonant voices not existing in Arabic of Saudi learners. And Gezer and Kıymet's study is analysis of difficulties confronted in written expression skills by Arabic language learned students in teaching Turkish as a foreign language. So as we said, there is no psycholinguistic side in this studies. That's why we compared our study and developed another method and hypothesized some different questions. So Esma will be continuing with the methodology and result part of our study.
Okay, so as for the methodology part of our study, our main research question is, to what extent L1 Arabic TFL learners' phonological awareness affects the orthographic production of non-existing sounds, as we mentioned, ç, g, yumuşak g, p, j, v, in the Arabic alphabet. Here in L1 refers to native Arabic speakers, and TFL refers to Turkish as a foreign language learners. So our hypothesis is L1, native Arabic speakers commit errors in the written production of Turkish-specific consonants. Here, written production refers to orthographic production as explained previously, and the location of the letters in predetermined words affects the rate of errors. So this is our hypothesis. Our research was implemented with 50 students from Turkish and Foreign Language Application and Research Center in Turkish Tömer in Afyonkarahisar University, and with students, undergraduate Arabic students learning Turkish at Middle East Technical University. And there were 27 male participants and 23 female participants, and the age ranges between 18 and 38. And we experimented with different participants with different proficiency skills. Our research instrument is based on Turkish National Corpus, and we chose 135 Turkish words from the corpus according to their frequency rate. We decided to work with low frequency words in order to create a consistency within the experiment. And we believe that the location of the letters matters. For instance, whether it's in the beginning, in the middle, or in the end, as in the example of çene, aşçı, ayraç. So we provided these variables for each sound. For data collection and analysis, we preferred online forms for demographic information, but our experiment was an offline experiment because we didn't want the keyboard to interfere the experiments and affect the results. So it was an offline experiment. Basically, participants wrote down what they hear. We tabularized and visualized our data with Microsoft Excel and Pandas library in Python. As for design and procedure, we held each session privately with only one participant at a time, and each word was pronounced by the instructor twice. And the instructor waited 10 seconds before moving to the next word. And before they moved to the next word, participants wrote down what they heard. But if they didn't catch for the first and second time they hear, we didn't give them a third or fourth chances, and they only left those spaces blank if they didn't hear anything or didn't understand. And we completed these sessions at a sitting, and we didn't provide any breaks. It approximately took only 15 minutes. And the results were as expected. The substitution errors committed the most, and omission errors continued the rate by 12.8, and insertion errors were committed the less. When we look in detail, we see that substitution errors, by the way, on the below, you see the consonants that we are specifically looking for, and on the right-hand side, you can see the substituted elements within those consonants. For J, for instance, participants substituted J with J sound, as in jubile, jubile. And for Ch sound, they substituted it again most of the time with J, as in sütlaç, sütlaç. For P, it was mostly substituted with B. That was also expected, as in kebab, kebab. And V mostly substituted with F, as in cetvel, cetvel. And G substituted with K, as in bulgur, bulgur. And soft G, yumuşak G, substituted with G, as in düğme, düğme. So those were the basic errors for substitution. And for omission, the most persons mostly committed omission errors with soft G. They omitted it 120 times, and that was expected because soft G doesn't have its specific pronunciation, but it makes the previous sound longer. So consequently, they omitted the sound that they didn't hear, as in mifer, mifer, or ota, ota. But interestingly, that was also the case for the V sound. They omitted it 29 times, as in uzu, uzu. And as you see, the other omitted letters rate is not that high. They never omitted J sound, but they mostly tend to substitute it with another similar sound in their alphabet. As for insertion, we subcategorized it for two subheadings, following and precedence. As for following, what we mean is the inserted elements comes right after the specific consonants that we are experimenting with, and the precedence refers to the inserted elements comes right before to the consonants that we are experimenting with, as in the case of reçel, reçel, and felç, felç. The most significant finding for insertion part was that participants inserted T sound 40 times and always right before Ç sound. So we thought the reason may be the place and the manner of articulation. So T sound and Ç sound are both voiceless and fortes. So voiceless means once you pronounce it, you can't keep pronouncing it, as in the case of sh. But once you pronounce it, your breath just stops, and that means that's voiceless. And it's the same case for Ç. And they're fortes. So T becomes D, and Ç becomes J. We all know it like peçeteka. So T is dental alveolar sound, and Ç is post-alveolar sound. So they're not the same. The place of the articulation and the manner is not the same, but they are similar. So we thought maybe that might be the reason, but of course further researches are needed. And we came across with some unexpected results. Transposition errors, as in kulaç, kulça, and aşçı, aşiç. Transposition errors, I mean, the term itself reveals the meaning actually when a syllable is positioned right before or right after another syllabus. So they change the location of syllabuses. But the data is not enough to to reach a conclusion. So again, further researches are needed. And another unexpected result was the participants wrote what they heard in Turkish, in French, and in English, as in dosage, dosage, and abajur, abajur. So that was the case. For conclusion and further suggestions, substitution errors committed the most, and J substituted with J, Ç with J, P with B, V with F, G with K, yumuşak G with G. And omission errors are the second most committed errors. Most prominent findings are with soft G and V. And as for insertion, as I said before, T comes inserted right before Ç. And we have some further suggestions for further researches. So we only investigated omission, insertion, and substitution, and we found transposition, but there are other orthographic subcategories, and there may be other researches that focuses in detail for these subcategories, and the proficiency levels of the participants may be compared to detect the most problematic sounds and the most errors subcategory. So that was the suggestions for further researches. And that's the end of our presentation. If you have any questions, you're most welcome.